Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. I'm Brian. That's Rob. Last week we had Valtteri on. I don't know if you're aware of this.
This is Valtteri Bottas, and you're listening to the Dirty Side of the Track.
And this week we're still dining out on that. But anyway, Rob, back to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to mention it, but now that you have, just want to say thank you to everybody who listened. We, as we are recording right now, the number that listened to the Valtteri episode was 338, and that's in a single week, which for us is insane. It smashes the previous record of Jacques Villeneuve episode, which we've also had on the show, by the way.
Wait, hold on.
This is Jacques Villeneuve, and you're listening to the Dirty Side of the Track.
Yeah, you know it. I had that sound ready.
He had 243 in his first week, so like that, the Valtteri one's almost done 100 more in a week. So we were messing around on Twitter, kind of having a little bit of fun with Matt Bishop, saying, you know, are you going to try and move up the podium? Well, him retweeting the link to his episode has done wonders for him. We are sitting right now that the Jacques Villeneuve episode is our all-time listened to one with 399 listens. Matt's right behind him in 380, and then Valtteri, he's only a week old, 338. So joking aside, thank you. This is blowing our minds. It's been amazing. So, following on this week, we've got a special guests lined up, which are our listeners. We've got our Discord community, and we're going to have a preview of the 2023 season and pick their brains as to what they see coming up. But before that, we're going to jump right in as normal with our news and social roundup. Right, Brian?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Cool. I found this one because
You knew I'd love this one.
Yeah. Ocon did an interview this week, and the quote from him, and of course a lot of the media outlets kind of pick this up as the "we will never be best friends," like we hate each other subplot that they want to portray, but I don't think he was really saying it that way. He came across and he said, "It's true we might never be best friends," and he then really went away from F1, but I feel that we're professional enough within the team to generate a good atmosphere. And before we move on to the next part, what do you read into that? Because this has been the story you've been looking forward to since they announced that they were going to be teammates.
Yeah, I mean, I got to do this one more time. Reporting live over the rumor mill, the story that they don't like each other will not go away. I'm sorry. Like, am I a petty person? Am I the only person who understands that once you hate somebody, you can work together, but you still don't love them? Like, maybe some people mature and move past it, but the Hülkenberg situation with Magnussen, that will never go away. And Gasly and Ocon, they don't like each other. And they can say it's all fine and water under the bridge, and we're buddies now, and look at us, arm in arm, walking down the, here we go. No.
Yeah, but I mean, Ocon's basically said that. He said, look, we'll never be best friends. But we don't need to be. But we don't need to. Right. They're just saying we don't need to be to have a team dynamic.
And they don't. They really don't need to be for best friends. I agree. Like I work with people. Well, I like everybody so far at my new job. But it happens in life. You work with people and you don't like them, and you manage to sort of power through. I get it. But it will be a problem. I mean, they will work together until they don't want to work together. And when team orders come out, or hey, could you get out of the way and let Pierre through? And Esteban will be like, no.
Yeah, true. We're talking about the car and like letting people through all that, the performance-y type thing. He's really decided to put the pressure on himself, or maybe the whole team, because they asked him about the new car that he's going to have at his control, and he said he's a very mechanically minded person. He likes to get very deep understanding of the engine, the suspension, every part of it. And because of this deep understanding as he has, when he looks at the car that they're going to give him this year, it makes last year's look like a child's toy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know why he did this interview. Was there nobody there from a PR perspective to rein him in on any of this? I mean,
I'm not sure, but that's about, if you want to kind of temper expectations at the beginning of the season, there's a way to do it. If you want to shine a huge bullseye onto your back, then you do this. But, oh man. Talking of people that were kind of stating the obvious, Fred Vasseur came in and basically, and I'm not beating up on here, I love Ferrari, so actually I think that I like the way he did this. He just admitted it's an open secret that they had to work on reliability. Somebody was asking him a question, they were trying to draw something out of him, and he just shot it down. He went, look, we know. Everybody knows. We have to work on reliability. And in terms of PR spin, I like the way it kind of got spun around, which was, we work on reliability we don't have to run the engine mode in a lower mode like we had to last year. So before we even start upgrading the engine, we're already going to get a free performance hit just by the fact that we can maximize what we should have been able to maximize last year. So for me, that's just common sense talking, right? It's where's the problem? The problem is, well, he hasn't hit strategy yet. We'll wait to see what that one was. If it was Binotto at fault, then, well, that problem's already been eliminated, but I'm yet to believe it was just him.
Yeah, it wasn't Binotto, though, making the strategy calls.
But it's his ultimate call to go ahead with the strategy that's been put in front of him. But anyway, let's just see how Fred gets on that front. The other side of the problems, like we talked about the external combustion engine, was the reliability issues. So if they really have nailed that, then not only will he be right that they don't need to limit the engine anymore, if they then couple that with a bit more horsepower this year, then
Are you done drinking from the fountain of optimism? Do you remember this from last season?
Wait, what are these tires?
Sorry, it's a mistake.
Binotto did that? I don't think he did. I mean, I'm excited as well. I also think all the rumors, and I'm not going to do the sound again, of the 30 horsepower they found, in addition to the reliability Fred just talked about. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what it does for Ferrari. And as we'll talk about with the Discord folks, I'm excited for what that does for customer teams as well. So we shall see. Anyway, it was obviously livery time, and it has been for a couple weeks, and they're all out now. And so we've got through all the dates and all the conversations. All of the liveries are out. People are done complaining about some and excited about others. Rob, I'd love your take on what liveries you found the best. I personally really liked the Alfa Romeo. I thought the combo of that red and black was just fantastic. When Valtteri, by the way, Valtteri Bottas was on the podcast, everybody. When he talked about it, we hadn't seen it yet. It's fantastic. So I think that's great. The Ferrari does look amazing. I like the Mercedes. And what those things, for me, those three have in common is a boatload of black. And more often than not, it's just unpainted carbon fiber to save weight. But they look great. Even the Haas looks, I thought, pretty good. The Williams is good. And then I'll stop talking.
Are you just going to name all 10 at this point?
Pretty much.
So, a little bit annoying that I completely overlap with you on the three, I think. And maybe it is actually, maybe it's both bias of my love of Ferrari and then also the black. I've always loved a black car, whether it's Knight Rider. Just a car in black always looks good, right? So, and because they're all trying to expose the carbon fiber to do the weight reduction, we are seeing a lot of black cars. So my three were, in reverse order, was Alfa, Ferrari, Mercedes.
Romeo, not Tori.
Correct.
Yeah.
With the Haas kind of maybe challenging the Romeo for the third spot on my a bit, but not quite as good as the Alfa Romeo. So I got Alfa Romeo, Ferrari second, so that's big for me. Even adding the old school Ferrari logo on the rear wing wasn't quite enough to just stop how just awesome I think that Mercedes looks. It's just jet black with the little green sprinkling of color with the swoosh down the side is just chef's kiss.
I think the letters pop, especially Lewis's, because he's got the yellow T-cam thing and now the yellow numbers. He looks just a great looking car. Man, we're making a boring podcast when we agree on everything. But yeah, I think the Alpha Tauri, I had to confirm, I thought that was one of the worst, if I'm being honest. I did not like the way the red worked on the colors they had.
It looks like
fire suits look worse with it.
Yeah, it's like they kind of said, right, we've got this design, and then it's Orlan that have come in, right, that they need to put the red on. And they've gone, right, we need some red for Orlan. So somebody's conceptualized and goes, well, if we just kind of put a bit here and a bit here and a bit there, and they've just done a real quick mock-up in Photoshop and just dropped some red on it. Are those the sorts of places that you want? Yes. Let's just keep that. No, maybe we should find a cleverer way rather than just square blocks of red to put on. Nah, just run with it. No one will care.
Oh, man. So moving on from that, the F1 data analytics on Twitter showed last year's Merc and this year's Merc overhead, and how this year's car has the driver moved forward by about 230 millimeters. Now, Rob, what would that mean for the car?
I mean, what that would mean is that would have a huge impact on moving the center of mass forward. And then it would go off into blah, 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 insert aerodynamic stuff I don't understand, but apparently it will be good.
I don't know. I remember watching the old F1 cars where people seemed like they were sitting in front of the tires, in front of the front wheels. They were so far up. Obviously, it's different in today's cars, but yeah.
The little piece that I kind of grasped was that even just that small movement of the cockpit forward is going to give them a bit more room behind that to play with. Especially being as they got the zero side pod, maybe they decided they need a little bit more room to accommodate bits and pieces back there.
Can we combo one other Merc news? When they went out and were on track,
yes,
and then filming, there was a rumor, and I hate playing the sound. This is the only time I'm playing the sound, unless I'm forced to from here on out. But there was a rumor that there was a little bit of porpoising. So hopefully not. I was hoping we were done with that sound forever.
Oh, we are. It's just, oh my gosh. Did you see what they used? They used like a cropped clip of about 1 second of the car going over, I think it was Silverstone they were doing in wet conditions, which is a notoriously bumpy track. And somebody kind of like boomerang clipped 1 second and just kept showing the head bouncing up and down. It's like, oh my gosh, we're just desperate to go and say, oh, the sky is falling in. Porpoising is back. I don't believe it. I think it's a nothing burger, as you would say, Brian.
I sure hope so.
Then we had an update on the freedom of speech situation with the FIA. So they cracked down and said, you're not allowed to say anything. We're going to give you bits of paper with everything on that you're ever allowed to say. Well, not quite that bad, but it might as well have been. There's been a bit of a backtrack, I would say, after a whole bunch of driver outrage. Various different drivers, almost all of them, I think, have come forward and said, well, I'm still going to say whatever I want to say. So they've now come forward and said drivers are free to say what they want everywhere, but pre- and post-race events and on the track. So the guidance note says that drivers can express their views on any political, religious or personal matter before, during and after in their own space and outside the scope of the international competition. So in other words, if you want to tweet about it, put it on Instagram, do whatever you want to do, you're allowed to do it, but you just can't really say it over team radio. And maybe the direct interviews, do you think, as part of the pre- and post-race, I guess? They're basically going to they're trying to take a huge step backwards while still maintaining face that we are going to ban you from saying stuff, but you can still say stuff.
It was stupid when they announced it when it came out. We actually talked about it with Matt Bishop. It was timely at that point of the interview when we interviewed with him. But it's dumb. It was dumb then. It's dumb now. Let people be themselves. Anyway.
Yep.
Something I ran across on Twitter. So bear with me for a minute, people. And if you don't want to, go ahead 30 seconds. Trung T Fan on Twitter, @TrungTFan, found a note that in the mid-90s, a children's hospital in the UK improved its ICU handoff process by consulting with the Ferrari F1 pit crew team. The hospital recorded its surgery room operation and the F1 interjection of their ideas of the new protocols. And the error rates, now this is only in the handoff process, but the error rates caused from that dropped from 30% to 10%. And there are pictures in the tweet which kind of show the F1 team and how Ferrari described it to the children's hospital, and then how a patient is handed off in the ICU as they move from rooms to surgery and from different caretakers along the way. And actually, yesterday, Vincenzo saw this and retweeted it. Vincenzo's awesome. If you don't follow Vincenzo Landino, you should. But I'd seen this when it first came out on Trung's note somehow, and it is amazing. I love this. This is fantastic. And I'm assuming that the patients all came out on intermediate tires by accident, but other than that...
No, this is the mid-90s for us. All you can say is he's glad that they brought them in to consult in the mid-90s rather than last year. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that one. So.
Exactly. Are we removing the tonsils here? Question?
Oh, dear. A question that was answered is Andretti and what power unit they would have if they came in 2025. Alpine have confirmed they will supply the engine to Andretti if they're successful on their 2025 application. And apparently they're the only formal applicant that has answered the FIA's call to arms for anybody now, declare now or forever hold your peace in kind of that wedding style way. The Andretti Cadillac one is the only one that's really gone forward and doing the formal process, and they'll have an Alpine, a Renault engine if they're on the grid. Anything comments on that, Brian? Don't care?
Nope. Moving on. I mean, it's so far in the future from a bid that no one seems to want to happen. Even though the fans seem to, but no one on the grid wants it to happen. So, I mean, let's wait and see if there's anything there. Quick note on our bracket, #February F1 Fantasticness. Did we rip off March Madness? Completely. And so we are entering the Final Four as this is being recorded. So far, we have Senna, Clark, and Hamilton, who have all won their matchups, with Schumacher beating Seb pretty badly right now, and that'll close Monday morning. And then we will have our Final Four matchups and move on to the finals. So there have been a lot of tough matchups, some pretty close ones. We actually had Jim Clark beat Alain Prost by 1 vote. 1 vote. 50.7% he got. 1 vote difference. Just amazing. And then there have been a couple blowouts. Senna took Lauda pretty strongly, 77.1% to move into the Final Four. Hamilton, 68% over Fangio. And as I said, Schumacher is pulling pretty far ahead of Seb. But we'll have our Final Four shortly, so please vote and share when you see those. Curious to see who we end up with on the top step.
And like you said, Hamilton's into the Final Four, and Hamilton is in the news this week for advising Brad Pitt on co-star selection for his upcoming F1 film, which I read a bit more about it. It's going to be about a veteran driver who returns to take a rookie under his wing, and all I can think of was Doc and Lightning from Cars. But
Okay, then.
Because it's I know it's the good old formula, right? Old veteran, probably left the sport in a disgraced way. No one likes him. Here's a rookie that's a bit rough around the edges. Brad Pitt's going to come back. No one wants him back in the F1 circuit. He'll take this rookie under his wing and he'll win the championship at the end. And there'll be a big kind of tearjerker moment where Brad gets accepted back. That's my call on the entire film right now.
I'm surprised you didn't go somewhere totally different with this.
Ooh.
Driven. Sylvester Stallone as Joe Tanto. Isn't that exactly what he did? I didn't know that was the theme of this movie. This is Driven. This is a remake of the IndyCar, of the greatest movie ever made. That's so bad. It's good.
And on the subject of this, while I was looking at that, I Googled the Braun thing, because I was pretty sure the Braun Keanu Reeves thing was going to be a film, and I found it. It's got an IMDb entry already, so I clicked into it. I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw it said miniseries, four episodes. I was like, oh, this can't be it. Maybe there's a Braun series that I missed. Oh my gosh, maybe it's like Brian's Indiana Jones discovery of his McLaren TV show. But no, I've completely missed this. It was announced September last year, so I really have missed it, that Keanu Reeves is going to do a Disney Plus 4-part documentary called Braun, the £1 Formula One team. I thought it was a film. Was it just me, Brian?
No,
okay,
I thought it was
good.
too. And I got real excited that John Wick was doing an F1 movie, and I was like freaking out about it. And then I didn't know this either. I didn't know it was a documentary. 4 parts, Disney Plus. Thank God I still have that, so I'll keep it until it comes out.
Yeah, he's just going to be the voiceover. I was with you. I was like wanting like John Wick, like coming at, fighting off the bad guys, getting into a car, winning a race, maybe having to get out mid-race, fight off some more bad guys, get back into the car, but apparently not. So, but on the subject of films and video, that's a perfect segue for us to open up the door to Brian's Video Vault.
Yeah, if you're going to call it that, we're going to have to stop doing it. But anyway, there are 3 things I'd highlight here that were interesting this last week. So number 1, I really enjoyed, it just came out, the biggest thing I've improved on the most in F1, that's literally the title. I know it doesn't come out of the mouth well there, but it's on the Lando Norris channel. It's really good. It's 12 minutes of fun Q&A. Check it out. It's really fun. And he even said, I'd done a Q&A like 4 years ago, time to do another one. There's a little downside that it's an endless merch publicity stunt. He just keeps changing into different clothes and then appears on the screen in new stuff and highlights it every 4 seconds. You can live moving on beyond that.
Starts brushing his teeth between answers with a McLaren toothbrush. Excuse me a second.
It is basically, he's like, and then just holding his shirt out and popping his collar. But it's worth it. It's fun to watch Lando. 12 minutes on the Lando Norris channel. And then last week we had talked a little bit about the Daniel Ricciardo interview on Late Show with Stephen Colbert and how disappointing it was that Colbert knows so little about F1 that it wasn't the greatest interview. Danny Rick was fantastic, but the questions could have been better. However, they must have listened, so thank you, Stephen, or whomever told him. They did a clip called Precise Advice with Daniel Ricciardo. 3 minutes long. It is basically him. It's on the Late Show channel with Stephen Colbert. It's him answering questions and giving advice. It's everything the full interview was not. It's 3 minutes. Check it out. I miss Danny Rick already. And the last one I have, SF23, Q&A with Carlos Sainz on the Ferrari channel. It's 3 minutes. It's a little bit meh because what they did was they interviewed Charles and Carlos right after the car launch, and you'd probably have expected me and my man crush on Charles to talk about that one, but fooled you. And so I watched the Carlos one here, and it's okay. It does get kind of interesting as he talks about his off-season training and his weight management. So check it out. It's 3 minutes. It's not going to set the world on fire, but for 3 minutes, I've already talked about it enough. You should check it out. And I have one last thing, Rob. Occasionally we do a dalliance of personal notes on here. Not often, but I got a voicemail this week. And it was so good. It was so very good. I have to play part of it real quick. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I don't want to give it away, but it lists a phone number to call if you have a question. And everybody talks about computers and AI, and we've used ChatGPT, and we have Victoria occasionally talk on our YouTubes. Here was how I could contact them if I had a question.
Please contact the location where you made your original purchase at plus 18,472,724,000.
So it just thinks the number is a massive number, and it reads it out as plus 18,472,000,000, and then it goes on to give the whole number like that. And I'm like, what? I had to translate the commas and the thing.
So it's literally got nothing to do with Formula One.
No, just wanted to share that. I thought it was hilarious.
No, that is.
Nothing. As I said, a personal dalliance for 10 seconds there.
No worries. Right. Well, that that brings to an end News and Social. And now we'll move into what we recorded actually yesterday with the guys over at the Discord server. So, quick little scene setter. We launched, in fact, Lee, who was one of the people that was on yesterday, helped us launch the Discord server a few months ago. And we've been having a little open discussion area on that kind of server, and somebody had put forward the idea, it'd be cool to do sort of get everybody together if we could. Most of the people on there are ex-DRS guests, so we said, well, we're a fan-made pod for fans, so let's hear what the Dirty Siders have to say. So we kind of came up with the idea of having that episode. We've been planning it for a while. Brian's been amazing. Last week he's been running around not knowing which way is up, trying to sort out various kind of getting the questions out and the logistics, and it was fantastic. So what we're going to play now is how we got on with those guys. There's going to be 4 of them live and 2 of them recorded. So we had Andy, who came on and was DRS in episode 45. We have Az and Nimrod that were DRS episodes 28 and 29, and they're the first and only so far father-son combo, which we felt we needed to say now because it doesn't come up during what you're about to hear, but as you hear the banter between the two of them, it becomes obvious that these two are father and son. We got Lee, like I said, he came on very early, episode 14, and again, shout out for helping set up the Discord server for us. And then we had JP, came on in episode 27. He's phoned in some of his observations. Finally, Renato, episode 25, bringing in some of his. So, I think we just hand it over to us and play how we got on with the guys yesterday.
Sounds great.
Okay, last week we had Valtteri Bottas on the show. I mean, we haven't mentioned it or dined down on it every single day on social media, but we thought we need to go even one step better this week, which is not to have the drivers on the show. Who wants the drivers on the show? You need the fans on the show. You need the people that spend their weekends watching F1. We're really, really grateful to have a good Discord community, people that have come on and done 100 seconds of DRS before, and we thought it'd be a great idea to get a few of them on and do some 2023 season predictions with some of the Dirty Siders. So we have 6 folk today, 4 of which are live on air with us now, and 2 that have recorded some of their answers. And we will have with us Andy, Az, Lee, and Nimrod live in Dirty Side headquarters. And also JP and Renato have phoned in their reviews. So,
Head Q, is that like H quarters?
Yeah, headquarters, head HQ, yeah, whatever. It's
Nailed it.
Nailed it, yeah, 100%. So, first off, let's go round the table. Welcome back to the Dirty Side, Andy.
Thanks. Good to be back. Managed to impress my mother-in-law earlier today, telling her that I was a guest on the podcast and the previous guest being Valtteri. So she was very impressed.
That's actually a pretty good card to play. And it was also good to see when you dialed into this, not that anybody would have seen this, but Andy turned up wearing a replica Sebastian Vettel helmet signed by Seb. So we've had Seb on the show today as well. So
he did change his name to Sebastian Vettel. So at first I thought it was him.
I did fool someone. Phew. I thought no one was going to be fooled. No.
Okay, nice to have you back, Andy. We've also got Az. Welcome back, Az.
Hello. It's good to be back.
Is that it? That's the full response you got for us? Come on, you're following Valtteri. Come on, raise your game.
It's as far as honesty goes, dude. I mean, you're sitting with that stupid hat on with Arsenal on it. What do you want?
Well, okay, fair enough. Also returning, I'm not sure if was Lee the first 100 seconds DRS guest? I think he could have
Bingo
been.
was the second.
I think Paul did a dry run of it, and I don't count. I mean, Pit Lane Paul is amazing, but anyway, welcome back, Lee.
Thank you very much. Good to be back on the podcast, and look, brilliant to be back with all you guys, and let's talk some F1.
Awesome.
Yes. And last but definitely not least, we have Nimrod.
Hello, yeah, glad to be back, and I'm glad that I reminded somebody here that this is happening, and 5 minutes before it was happening as well. Not to name any names, but yeah, or to throw people under buses. Definitely not doing any of that today.
Yeah, there may have been some frantic exchanges of text messages a couple of minutes this starting of, are you actually joining this? Yeah, of course I am. Well, why aren't you here? But we won't name names, but it's obviously one of the other three. Anyway. Okay, so we issued in advance on our Discord server, and if you're not on there, please join us. We have the link in all of the show notes. Every time we publish an episode, you'll see the link to the Discord server down there, and we published a list of 7 questions that we wanted to kind of go around and get everyone's views for the upcoming season. So, as tradition has it, we will start with number 1. And the first question we put to everybody was, will anyone from a team other than Mercedes, Ferrari or Red Bull score a podium? And if so, who? So to really kick us off and give us something to fight back against, over to you, Andy. What's your thoughts?
Well, the first half of that question is really easy. Will anyone other than Mercedes, Ferrari or Red Bull get a podium? Of course they will. Every year, or at least probably more than once a year on average, we get a crazy race. There's always got to be a crazy race, and so somebody is going to get that podium.
Who's it going to be?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
We gave you a week to prepare, man. What's? No, he's struggling. So we're gonna go round. As what are your thoughts? I mean, first off, do you agree with Andy? Is it obvious that we're going to get someone else on the podium? And have you got an if so, who you think it's going to be?
Well, first of all, I agree. Second thing, I want to say that back in school, I didn't know there were questions I could have prepared with, so I'm going for this completely cold turkey. I think there are two people I have on my list. One will be Lando. I think the guy is great, and I hope the McLaren will. I think he's in the McLaren, right? Will do well. And the second guy is Valtteri, just because I love the guy. Always liked him, and Nimrod always liked him, so that's kind of a warm place in my heart. So I really hope he will win one. No, not just podium, win one. Yeah.
Oof. I got to go round to Liam. Andy's desperate to burst back in here. If I think actually after having a week to prepare, he might have actually come up with an answer for who's going to be on the podium. But you can come back in a minute, Andy. We've got to go over to Lee here. What's your thoughts, Lee?
I think there would definitely be another team arriving on the podium. As of now, it's questionable who it could be. McLaren haven't been performing as brilliant as they should have. Alpine has looked racy, but it's whether the new cars are actually fast enough to actually do anything worthwhile racing. Really, we should see in testing next week.
Oh, I know it's getting close. So to put a bow around this one, Nimrod, what do you think?
Have your hand up.
Well, it's good to see that. As my father, you pay absolutely no attention to all the off-season shenanigans. I think based on past statistics, there'll be actually probably 2 teams outside of those 3, and they'll get a podium. So I expect to see at least 3 podiums from minor teams and at least 2 different teams. As for which teams, I think Alpine are probably the strongest bet. They are actually under the weight limit, or so they claim to be, so they can put a ballast and adjust their weight distribution, so they claim. And McLaren apparently went in a very wrong decision at the start of their off-season, so are very behind in development and don't expect to be competitive for a couple months. So I'm going to put a doubt on Lando. Sorry.
Wow.
So your remark there about McLaren got like about 3 different squares lighting up here on the around the table. So something you just said, and Brian put his sticky note up first. So Brian, over to you, my friend.
Well, I want to chime in on behalf of JP. So I have audio clips for a few of these, but JP also thought that we'd see McLaren and Aston Martin, with Fernando in particular, possibly squeaking onto the podium. And you know what? We saw so much potential from Fernando last year, especially in wet races and races that were a little bit different. Andy, exactly to your point. Couldn't agree more. There's going to be something that happens. So interesting about the McLaren. I think we have debate because I had actually put down personally 2 people that I anticipate being on the podium, and I had Lando and McLaren. So Nimrod, you and I, we got a bet going here, buddy. And then Valtteri and Alfa Romeo. So as I'm with you, and here's Andy, come on now. And here's the reason why. Sometimes there are rumors which are totally made up, and I could be reporting live over the rumor mill in the chopper and still not believe them. However, the phantom 30 horsepower that the Ferrari power unit is supposed to be cranking out this year as opposed to last, and the reliability, because that thing kept grenading for every team, I'm putting money, and you're going to hear me talk about this later, on watching the Ferrari-powered cars do a little better. Not necessarily Ferrari, but as a customer, I think Alfa Romeo will do better this year, and I'm putting something on Valtteri. Andy, to you, please.
Alfa Romeo were really fast at the start of last year. Partly that was the Ferrari power, which they had to turn down for the reliability. But also, Alfa Romeo started last year meeting the original weight limit. So when they increased the weight limit, Alfa Romeo had loads of ballast to play around with. They had a massive advantage through being underweight compared to the other cars. This year, they don't have that. So I don't think Alfa Romeo are going to be as far forward as they were at the beginning of last season. Adding on the whole Bottas thing, Bottas is a demon in quali. He's a little bit, I want to find a nice way to say it, he's not the greatest defender in races, and if someone with a faster car is behind him, they'll probably get past him.
How dare you say that about a friend of the show?
That's what I was trying to find a nice way to say it. But.
So I just want to wrap a bow around this one because to keep us moving, but on the McLaren piece, Nimrod mentioned about this thing that they've gone in the wrong direction, and we're going to move on to a second question. Brian's going to take us on the second question about surprises in a second, but I was surprised by that, and I don't know if this is the rumour mill. There's this thing about, the launch of McLaren was downbeat because they've suddenly realised they've completely gone in the wrong direction with the car because the tyre data they got through from the testing last year was wrong or something. Now, is that 100% rumour milling, or do we all believe that McLaren have gone in the wrong direction here? I'm gonna let Nimrod answer that, being as he brought it up. So you said it, so you get to defend it.
Oh, do I believe it? To an extent. I don't think they'd come out and say, "Oh yeah, we've completely gone the wrong direction," for no reason at all. On the other hand, I'm not a big McLaren fan, so I am not particularly inclined to say, "Oh yeah, I think McLaren will be really well." But I think second half of the season, I did not say McLaren won't get a podium. I think they might have a difficult time at the beginning, but I do think Lando is probably of the best of the rest, most likely to, if given the car as he demonstrated last year in Imola.
Well, it shall be fun to watch and see what ends up happening. Another question for everybody. What team will surprise people? So we kind of started addressing some of the teams, but the question I'd have is, who do you think will surprise people? What team will surprise people in 2023? And since you're so prepared, I'm going to have you go first on this one, buddy. But what do you think from a 2023 team perspective, who's going to be a surprise in a good way?
Yeah. So I think I learned in my exam strategy in school is repeat an answer as many times as you can, and then it'll be right. I think Alfa is going to surprise in a good way. And I think Ferrari will surprise in a good way because they'll sort their strategy issues. So I think this is where it's going. I think Alfa. Look, Fiat is a big company, and I often make fun of Ferrari that they're run by Fiat because they're like a bunch of loony Italians in the 1950s film. But they're going to sort themselves out. They're not going to let themselves 2 years in a row be such a big joke. So I think from those two outfits, we'll see better results, in Alfa especially.
Interesting. Just not that I'm important, but I agree. So I actually written notes in here. I had Alfa Romeo as well. So we got to watch this because it'll be something. What do the rest of you guys think in terms of surprises for 2023? Nimrod, how about you?
So I was going to go with Aston Martin, mostly because I think the team from the inside has been hiring a lot. They've been a team that have known how to play the midfield of the pack game for many years and have been quite successful at it. And they don't really have very much lower to go. I mean, they had a pretty poor season last year compared to what they're normally used to. And as much as I'd love to see Alfa up there because it was a lot of fun seeing Valtteri push way above what you'd expect him to be able to do last season, I think in the end, as much as it's not really an Alfa team, it's just the name. It is still Sauber. And I mean, since I've started watching F1 in 2014, Sauber have been bottom 3 team. And last season was, I guess, a bit of a fluke in terms of the fact that they got the regulations correct, but I don't think that their system within will allow them to push much higher and into the top 5.
Interesting.
Body blows raining in on the team there. Lee?
I wouldn't be surprised if Alfa and Haas actually do surprise a little bit, both with the Ferrari power unit. Haas looking not bad with the driver lineup this year as well. Alpha being buoyed up by the news that they're going to be Audi very soon. And yes, it's going to be an interesting season. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if the Williams team surprised a little bit, because there is also a rumored double-digit power gain on the Mercedes power unit.
See, I'm with you on this. That's the note that I'd made, and okay, it's an easy bet to make that Williams are going to surprise people because, to be honest, if they don't finish bottom, they're probably going to surprise everybody, right? But I just think that I do think that Williams, again, another reorganization. Hopefully, I know it's sentimental, but I do want Logan Sargent to come in and do well as well. So yeah, I think Williams. I'm with you on the Williams ones. So
Williams doesn't have anywhere else to go. I mean, that's fine and good. JP, by the way, voted Aston Martin, which we've heard, and AlphaTauri, because it can't get worse, is kind of the way he looked at it. Last year was bad. And so they're still Red Bull's junior team. I mean, how bad can the car be? So kind of curious to see what ends up happening there. Andy, any thoughts you want to add, or no, you're good?
Well, I've kind of gone the other way, the opposite way to everybody here, because you didn't put in a good way in the original question. So I've gone for someone who's going to surprise in a bad way.
That's good. That's a good segue for the next question. So let's have it.
And I've gone for Ferrari because every year they find new ways to screw things up, and I think they'll surprise us by finding even more new ways to screw things up.
If we can just disconnect Andy's microphone, please.
So are you expecting like the kind of strategy chaos or reliability chaos?
I'm not expecting anything, which is why they're going to surprise me. They're going to surprise me in the way they screw things up. I don't know what it's going to be yet.
It should be fascinating, right?
Question? Yeah. You all burn in hell, all of you. It's a new, it's Binotto's gone. They were the only ones brave enough to do a proper launch and drive the car around. I mean, I was actually worried that it was going to end up in the gravel. Then I realized it wasn't Carlo driving it. But this is it. This is. I'm going to sound like Az will appreciate this, but I'm going to sound like a Liverpool fan for many, many, many years down the years. This year's our year. This is. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a beautiful segue into the disappointment side of things. So, Andy, you've kind of already answered that one as to which team's going to disappoint people in 2023. So I think let's hear from you, Lee. Which team do you think you're going to look at in 2023 and just go, oh, God?
Ironically, I'm actually going to say Aston, because with Fernando at the team, I think he's made the wrong choice.
Ooh.
Wow.
I think he's gone from Alpine, who's looking strong, to Aston, who's not been looking great at all. I think they're going to really disappoint. And I think he's going to disappoint in the car, although he's going to give it the best possible chance.
Oof, going strong with the disappointment on the first one from Lee there. Nimrod, so who's at the top of your disappointment charts?
I don't have a specific team in mind, but I'm going to go with Piastri and Tsunoda.
Oh, okay, you're going to drive it. That's fine. Cool. Piastri and Tsunoda. So Piastri you just don't think is going to cut it at all?
I didn't like anything about the way he got in and all the drama that happened last season. It was really entertaining for us as fans. I loved sitting there watching, reading a Twitter and all that. But I don't think that's a great way to go into a team. And Ricciardo isn't a bad driver. He might have had some rough seasons, but the car was clearly just very undrivable. Even Lando said he was able to drive it better than Daniel, but the car looked bad. And if it doesn't end up in a great start, then I could see him falling back, and we might have he's a rookie, so maybe he'll get more of a less criticism for it, but he might end up another similar situation of Lando carrying the team in points.
I'm holding Andy back by the collar here, Nimrod, because I can see he's got his flashcard up and he's desperate to come swinging into this conversation. So the floor's yours, Andy.
I mean, I'll give you that the way Piastri handled things, maybe not the best, but I'd put that more on Alpine and on him. But that's nothing to do with how well he's going to do in the car. And having watched him through his junior career, I mean, I didn't watch all of it, but I did watch him back in British. Oh, it wasn't called British F4 back then, whatever it was called. But yeah, back in his single early years in single seaters, and then watching him through F3 and F2, Piastri is he's a phenomenal driver. He's one of those juniors he won 3 back-to-back rookie titles in the last 3 years. Wasn't racing last year. He's insane. He's the level of Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton, Norris. He's a fantastic driver. He is not going to struggle, I think. Anyway.
So just out of curiosity, I don't think I've heard this. I have Haas as a disappointment this coming year. I haven't heard any Haas from anybody yet. They had 30 points last year. Rob kind of nailed, or 30 some odd points. Rob nailed it. They came alive from the dead. They spent an entire year preparing for that car, and now they've not had a whole year preparing for this car. Granted, maybe the power unit helps them a little more, but I mean, is Hulkenberg going to add that much to the team? So I'm curious, anyone with me on Haas maybe being a disappointment? Go for it, man. You've been...
For me, it's going to be Haas and Williams. No, not Williams. Haas and Aston Martin. Sorry, I'm too old. Too late for me. I need to be in bed now. The biggest bit disappointing is the fact that Nimrod doesn't agree with anything I say. But other than that, I agree that Haas, I think they shot their shot. They hit a bunch of points, and now they're going to probably need 10 years to recover and recuperate and save up for one good go at it again. But and from Aston, they just don't have it, and I think they're not going to cut it.
I mean,
I'm going. Sorry,
ahead,
Brian. I was going to say I was going to go really controversial here, and it's not really. It's got to be disappointment in context. So I think the team that's actually going to disappoint their fans to some degree this year, but I think their performance will still be good. It's Red Bull, because I think last year was so stellar, and they won the constructors at such a canter. I'm actually not sure I've got them down, and I know we'll come to this later, but I'm not sure I see them retaining that title. They might well retain drivers, but I think the whole Sergio dynamic is going to be maybe a little bit destabilizing to the team dynamic there. Max is blatantly going to win a fair share of races, but I just think in terms of you often see when you've set such a benchmark to try to get back and re-achieve that the following year, I think it's naturally going to be disappointment for Red Bull this year, because I think more cars are going to come in and be challenging for wins, and I don't see the second driver over at Red Bull delivering the goods regularly enough to run off into the distance like they did last year. So it won't be a disappointment because they could still win a lot, but from where they were last year, I think their fans might be disappointed with how that plays out.
A lot of nodding on that. So it's bad when we agree with Rob. So let's move on and pretend it didn't happen. What track race are we most looking forward to seeing this year, and why? And as promised, we have some contributions from folks who couldn't be here, some OGs on the dirty side. So let's hear from JP first.
If I have to guess, for Rob and Brian, this answer would be the Canadian Grand Prix. Because you're there, and for exactly the same reason, for me, it will be the Barcelona Grand Prix. Being there is so much better, just an experience rather than sitting on your couch with a cold beer in your hand, which is also very good, but not the same. So Barcelona.
I think it's great that JP will be at Barcelona and get a chance to see that. And as he said, yes, Rob and I have talked a lot about it. We will be at the Canadian GP. And Andy, thanks for sending us your link to your recap of your time there. And Renato's been there. And speaking of Renato,
I'm really looking forward to Vegas. I'm not a very big fan of the track and the whole idea of having a race in Vegas, but there's a part of me that's really looking forward to it, to see what happens and how it looks, because I'm pretty sure it's going to look amazing on TV with the lights and the strip and all the glitz and everything else that goes around there. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens. Hopefully it will be a good race. I mean, it will be also an entertaining race to watch. It won't be a procession like Miami last year. So I'm looking forward to see what comes out of it. I do agree that giving them a 9-year contract was like way too much. I mean, they should at least see how it goes this year, but we'll see. And as per usual, I'm also looking forward to Singapore, which is one of my favorite tracks. Baku as well, wink, wink. Looking forward to that one as well. And, the classics in the Interlagos, Imola, Monza, Spa, and all that. But Vegas, guilty pleasure. Hopefully it's a good race. Looking forward to it.
So in honor of Renato's answer, mine was also Vegas, partially because of the spectacle. I'm not sure what to expect from the racing, but
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
Got to check it out. So I'm curious, who else is kind of looking forward to a particular track or race this coming year? Anybody excited to see something come through? Andy, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, I've gone for Silverstone, and similar to the reason for picking Barcelona is going to be trackside. Actually, first, I've been to Silverstone quite a few times, but the past few years I've only been going on the Friday for practice sessions. So first actual race day at Silverstone for me for a few years, and got some really good seats. Really looking forward to it.
So I'm going to throw this out there for anybody who ends up actually fortunate enough to make it to a GP. This will be my first one. But for Andy, for you at Silverstone, JP at Barcelona, if anyone else ends up at a race, send us like a pit lane poll, like a 2-minute kind of recap, and we'll include it in the episode. If you're a Discord server member, we'd love to have that feedback on what your experience was and your thoughts on the race. So let's add that to that. And Nimrod, I see you've got your hand up, sir.
Yeah, so I thought of Silverstone. I thought it was a very good race last year. I also thought Brazil potentially, but the one I ended up going with and putting down was actually COTA, because I think it is a really good racetrack. It produced a really entertaining race, and it's one of our 6 sprint races, so I think it will be a really good venue for a sprint race. And actually, unlike maybe the other 2 tracks, which I would consider American F1 races, I think COTA is an F1 race in America.
It's a real track. You're right.
It's a really good track, and I definitely think it's up there with the likes of Brazil and Silverstone, even though it doesn't quite have the history.
Before we move on, Az or Lee, either of you two want to chime in? You're welcome. Lee, go for it. You got your hand up.
I'm particularly looking forward to Silverstone, to be honest. Partially because I've actually been to Silverstone 1996, a long time ago now. Saw Damon Hill go off right in front of me. But it produced such a great race in the last couple of years. It's going to be really interesting to see what goes on. And also Brazil, because it's just an amazing track. Again, one of the sprint races produced some great racing in the past from a lot of different drivers. And it's going to be that's my 2 favorite tracks of this year.
Excellent. Thanks, Lee. Looking forward to it. Az, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, I have a couple. I always love Bath. Hopefully there's going to be a bloodbath there and with the water, pun intended. But I also have a warm place in my heart from Brazil. And unless obviously my memory confuses me, it's the race where Max Verstappen in the rain came back from like 50th place on the grid, I think. And I think he won it eventually. Everybody's looking at me like, what the hell am I talking about? So I'm probably confusing the race. He came third, but it might as well be first, right? It was an amazing drive. And we've got a couple of new prodigies, which are allegedly the best things in sliced bread. And I think it'd be a good tester for them. I mean, if you look at the world I know a bit better of MotoGP, likes of Valentino Rossi, winning on the second year on everything and taking the sport by storm. I think this is a kind of race you'd expect a prodigy like Max to win or make an impact. And I'm looking forward to that. And if it's a bit rainy, which it tends to be sometimes, then even better.
Brazil is always at the top of my leaderboard. I mean, my 3 that I've said on the show before, my 3 favorite are Spa, Brazil, and Canada. But as like Brian said, this year there's a very slight bias in my order that maybe Canada is going to jump above Brazil, and Spa, being as I'll be there. So that's the one I'm really looking forward to. I'm really not trying to wish the year away, but June just can't come fast enough, to be honest. So we're going to have, I think Brian and I might be planning on doing some kind of dirty side on tour type stuff in and around that weekend. We haven't quite worked it out yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So, okay,
if
cool.
If it involves drinking beers, I'm in. If it's anything other than that, I'm out.
I'm not sure you should be allowed a microphone in front of you once you've been drinking too many beers.
Racing
so
and beers. That's it. That's the point of the weekend. F1. Yeah, Rob gets 1 beer and he's out. That's right. That's what it is. He's a lightweight.
You, Ryan, you.
Me?
Yeah, I've seen Rob drink.
Yeah, thanks, Az. Anyway, right, moving on hastily. We got the 5th question where we put to everybody was, what team and driver are you looking forward to watching the most this year and why? And we had 2 phone-ins. So, Brian, Mr. Soundman, hit us up with the clips.
We're going to start with Renato first.
That's going to be good old George Russell. I think he's going to be amazing this year, especially, after he got that first win last season. That's a huge weight off his back. Now he's probably going to be driving even more relaxed, more confident, knowing, that he has the speed. I mean, hopefully the Mercedes, it's going to be fast this year. It's going to be able to be competitive to the Red Bulls and the Ferrari. That will also make him a challenger, but I'm definitely looking forward to see more of George. I'm pretty confident that he's going to get like a few more wins in his pocket this season. I think he's definitely going to be better than Lewis this year. Lewis is definitely going to be fast as usual. There's no doubt about it. But between the two of them, I think George is going to have the edge. So I'm looking forward to see what he does this.
So before we react to George, and by the way, just for the record, Lee likes George. And so when he said George, Lee was like nodding furiously. I loved it, the excitement on your face. But we have to play JP, so Lewis will come back. Rob, you can wait. You're a regular here. And so JP is going to bring Lewis back as well, but in a different light, which was fascinating because he's a huge Max fan. So here's JP's thought.
What I'm really looking forward to is seeing the new drivers. I hope they all do well. I don't have very high hopes for Sargent, but he doesn't have the best track record. Nick de Vries is, of course, a little bit older. But yeah, I have reasonably hopes for him. And Piastri, of course, is one of the great new talents. So I hope they'll all perform well in Formula One and can prove in one season that they belong here. Other than that, I really want Lewis to be the first one who wins a race after his 300th race. I might be a Max fan, but yeah, record breaking is always great, and Lewis is a great driver. It's great talent, still is, even after so many years of racing. So I really hope he wins a few races.
So, Rob, to you, it's your question. You facilitate. You had your hand up, but
everybody
is excited by these topics already.
I know, and the thing I just wanted to react to was that, because I hadn't listened to any of these clips, I wanted to kind of hear them fresh. So Renato kind of said something which absolutely strikes a chord with what Valtteri said last week, because, by the way, everybody, Valtteri Bottas was on the show last week. And he said, after winning the first one, it gets easier. Valtteri said, he had getting that first win. After that, something changes and it just got easier. And I 100% agree with what Renato was just saying there, that I think for me, George is the one to watch this year, but there's a lot of eyes opened up at that point. So we'll go back round in alphabetical. So Andy, give us your thoughts on your driver that you're looking forward to seeing and why.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Piastri because I really want to see what he can do relative to Lando. I think he's going to do great. It's just whether he's going to be just a bit behind Lando or equal with him, a bit like the whole last season, seeing Russell versus Hamilton. And also now I want to see Piastri do well just to show Nimrod.
Yes, that's what we want. We want some debate on this show. So, Az, what are you thinking? I mean, is it past your bedtime? You still awake? Can you give us a view on a driver? Do you remember any drivers in F1? And if you say James Hunt, I'm going to disconnect you. And you're on mute, which is fantastic.
I just said I'm 51, so I think it just fits in. Driver, so you might see a theme here. There's a bit of alpha in me since I was very young and drove my sister's Alfa Sud, my dad Alfa 33. So I am looking forward to seeing Valtteri. Did he come on the podcast or something? Because you keep mentioning it. So I really am looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to Sainz. He's a driver I really like, and I want to see him in a car that doesn't break down, with the team that doesn't mess him up. And I think he now has enough confidence in himself to tell him to shut up when he knows they're wrong. So hopefully, I'm looking forward to him getting on the top step of the podium a couple of times.
Do you just like his hair as well?
What is hair? I heard about that thing.
I know you haven't got any. I wonder if you had hair envy and you just love the luscious mane that Carlo rocks.
He's a good-looking man. I won't say. I won't disagree with that.
The next person I was going to bring into the conversation now, I'm chuckling because obviously nobody can see the video, but I think the politically correct way of saying this is that both Az and Lee are follically challenged. So Lee, over to you. What do you see as kind of the driver you're looking forward to watching this year?
I mean, I'm going to be really looking forward to the new guys, but Logan, Piastri, to see how well they do. And Nick de Vries, see how well he does in the AlphaTauri in his first full season. But it's got to be George. George, with his first win last season, he is going to be so impressive this year, I think. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. And with that Mercedes, it's behind him. He should be unstoppable.
Oof, unstoppable. That is a big claim. Nimrod, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to have to jump along with the whole Merc theme, although not about the drivers. I think, in a way, it's a bit of a make or break year for them. Not in terms of leaving the sport, because they'll be here for a while. But last year, they had their reasons for not being fast. The porpoising, the budget cap, they couldn't fix their fundamental issue with their suspension or floor, whatever it is. And now they've had a year to look at the data, fix things, hopefully. New budget, so they can't go complaining about, no money. They need to kind of be up there. They can't be lagging half a second behind Red Bull now. They need to be up there. This is meant to be the theoretically best concept of a car with the 0 side pods, as most teams have said, although we never know if anything they say is true. So they kind of need to step up the game and deliver, because if they lag behind and are third best, then I think a lot of people will be very disappointed and things might end up changing in the next couple of years inside.
Oof. Well, I was going to go round to Andy, but Az got all animated at this point, and being as he's been asleep for half the episode, I think we have to throw it over before he does fall asleep. Az, what's the counterpoint there?
Not counterpoint, it's actually a question. So if no side pods was such a brilliant idea, why did nobody copy that? That's the first thing. Second thing is, no, that's just one. Go ahead.
Andy.
So a lot of teams said they've thought about it and they've rejected it for one reason or another. I think it requires the engine to be packaged with that in mind. So Mercedes, doing as they do their own engine, they had the option of designing their engine around that no side pod concept. And the other thing I read was that Pat Simmons and his team at F1, who wrote the rules, had a look at the no side pod thing, and what they discovered, they didn't think it was particularly faster, but the dirty air it throws off is really clean. So it makes you really vulnerable to being overtaken. So although there's maybe some pace advantage in it, if you have got a fast car behind you, you're going to find it harder to keep them behind if you've got no side pods.
Andy's too smart. He needs to be on the Tech Heads podcast or someone with people smarter than us with the side pod news there. I like that. I like that very much.
Yeah, I mean, I like it that, sometimes you hang out with more intelligent people, it can drag your IQ up a little bit. So, we just sit around Andy for a bit and just nod when he says all this stuff.
There's no hope for you or I, Rob.
I know.
I just repeat what I hear elsewhere. Don't trust me.
So I've been dying to play this from the beginning, but since we're trying to be a little bit, conduct this in a orderly fashion, I've been holding on to this. George! So we obviously had to get a George in there. And then you guys have asked a couple times. I don't know if you're aware.
This is Valtteri Bottas, and you're listening to the dirty side of the track.
He was on last week. So if you haven't, if there are any listeners out there now who didn't know this, you gotta go check it out. So I'm also looking forward to all the new bull. I'm looking forward to the new people into F1 and the people who move teams. So I'm already excited for Williams and Haas and Aston Martin and Alpine and AlphaTauri and McLaren. And then there's drama at Red Bull with Checo and the whole situation. So add that into the mix, and then that leaves Ferrari's new team principal with Fred there. So what about Mercedes? I think they're going to be great, so I can't wait to see them. And then, as I already said, with the Ferrari engine, Alfa Romeo is going to be amazing. So yeah, I'm just excited for everybody.
Yeah, classic Brian. A
All
question gets
above.
Issued. Which driver are you most looking forward to? And Brian's answer is everybody.
I wrote the questions. I wrote my answer. That's how it goes.
Oh man, I knew it when I saw we have our notes that we do for the show, and I went in there and they were all kind of like little one sentences from Brian. I thought, Brian's doing well here. He's not overthought this. It's great. And we got down to this one. There was like war and peace written underneath this answer. I was like, oh gosh, Brian's gone off on the deep end on this one.
All right. So Rob, do you have one you're in particular before we move to the next question?
No, mine was George. That's why I kind of jumped in and said it right after to echo Renato's, I think, with that weight of the one win off his back. I think you might get to play that sound clip a lot this year.
Good. So, sixth question, closing in on the home stretch. Title-winning constructor and driver. And Nimrod, you're up first. So it's prediction time. We're getting into the prediction for title-winning constructor and driver.
I think you'd be a bit reckless to bet against Max. The way Red Bull were last year, he's clearly shown himself as probably has the potential to. I mean, my thought is this guy could probably win 5 titles in his career. So I think Max is the clear favorite. However, we're not here to all say Max will win because that's boring. So if Max doesn't win it, then my money is not on Ferrari because I think they will mess it up somehow. And I'm going to say George because I think his consistency last season will let him be slightly quicker than Hamilton. And I don't see Lewis winning an 8th. He can win races, but I think winning an 8th title in what might potentially be a very competitive season if Ferrari on their game and Mercer on their game, I think it'll be George rather than Lewis. And unless Max wins 10 plus races, I think if Mercedes are competitive, they'll take home the constructors, even if Max takes home the drivers.
So interesting. I'll just throw this in really quick. JP submitted as well, and he had Merc and Max for similar. So Max winning the title and Merc winning the constructor. And you know what? And I'll just say this quickly as well. When Rob and I had Spanners on from Missed Apex, and we talked about this question, Rob and I had not prepared for this, nor synced our ideas in advance. And we both kind of thought the same thing then. Rob, do you still agree? So we can just cross us off as well.
I really can't remember what we said, so being as you seem to remember, you say it, and I'll tell you if I still agree.
Merc and Max.
Yeah. My heart still wants to say it's the clean sweep for Ferrari, but that's just just
do
crazy
it then,
talk.
tough guy.
Nah, it's crazy talk. I'd be happy with them taking it to the wire and not shooting themselves in the foot this year if they can be in the mix. But yeah, I think Merc and Max. Yep.
So Andy, Az, and Lee, anyone want to weigh in here? Anyone? Yeah, Az, go for it.
I agree with Nimrod going betting against Max is potentially reckless, but I will. I'll go with Charles. Taking the
wow.
Yes.
So you have the courage, the fortitude that Rob does not.
Yeah, of course, because he's a wimp. He's an Arsenal supporter, and 16 years of knowing me, I wasn't able to bring him along on a journey, and so I'm going for Charles. I think Merc will take the constructors because Ferrari, despite my bold prediction, they'll fix themselves. They won't.
So Nimrod, I see you furiously waving to get in.
Yeah, that's a very contradictory statement to everything you said in the past, because you and I both agree that Charles Leclerc does not have the consistency to win it. He might be the best qualifier on the grid, but he does not have the consistency. So I'm 100% in belief that you made that statement just because Rob couldn't stick to the Ferrari. Rob couldn't stick to the Ferrari. So you're like, you know what? I'll jump on the bandwagon and I'll take that glory for myself if it does happen.
So I accept the challenge. I've said it that Charles doesn't have it. I said before, Rob received WhatsApps from me from that. Brian, I think, received things of the similar. I think it said similar on the Discord channel. But I think the Ferrari is going to be very, very competitive, that even Charles won't be able to muck it up this year. I feel some spicy chili going in that car this year, despite the slightly disappointing paint job. So Alpha nailed them. Sorry. No. So
right, just obviously Az is now talking crazy talk. So the one person we haven't heard so far, Lee, what is your constructor and driver prediction?
Well, constructor, I've got to go Mercedes. Driver, that's a bit more of a tricky question for me. It's George, Max, or Lewis, I think, can take it. Charles has an outside chance, but it is an outside chance, I think, to me.
So come on, you got to nail your colours to the mast here. Who is taking the title at the end of the season in the world according to Lee?
I'm going to go Lewis.
Ooh. Wow. Love it.
Heard it here first.
Yeah. We got a Charles, we got a Lewis, we got a lot of Maxes. All right. Good deal.
So last but not least, and it depends how bold you want to get, but it is going to be the bold prediction for 2023. Now, Lee kind of already went all in, I think, on the Lewis title, but we want something, not just the title, but something more than that. So, Andy, over to you. What is your bold prediction for 2023?
Lewis Hamilton is going to announce his retirement from Formula One. Ooh. Because either he's going to take the title and go, that's it, that's 8, I'm done. Or it's the season is going to implode and he's going to go, I can't be bothered anymore.
Wow.
That's mine.
And I'm sorry, Lee, you had your hand up quickly there. So do you have one as well?
Yeah, I'm going to go really out there. I'm going to say Lando for his first win.
Lando for his first win.
Okay, nice.
So,
nice. Az?
I'm going to go completely crazy as you expect. Monaco will be interesting.
So you're saying it's going to rain?
Yeah, exactly.
And the weather will be good, okay?
Oh, well, that's a real
nice
prediction.
Weather and an interesting race.
You might as well predict a Logan Sargent championship with that at this pace.
Nimrod?
I when we were sitting down and watching the Singapore Grand Prix last year, the old man said to me, "One more safety car in this. Who is it?" And I said, "If it's not a Ferrari engine, it's Yuki." And then it was Yuki about 3 laps later. And I honestly am he's a good driver, but I don't think Yuki has it. And so my bold prediction, which is rather bold, I like going all in, is that Nick will beat Yuki so badly, Yuki will be dropped before the end of the season.
Wow. Oh, whoa, I didn't see the last part of that coming. I did not see, we'll get to mine in a second. I didn't see the last part of that coming. Andy, go for it, buddy. You want to get in there?
Yeah, he's not going to get dropped mid-season. I mean, also, Nick I like him. I watch Formula E. I've seen him win the Formula E championship. I like him. He's good. He's good enough to be in F1, but he's only ever going to be a midfield driver in F1. He's not going to dominate Yuki Tsunoda. Beat him, yeah, but dominate, no.
So we have a couple from the recorded submissions, and Renato's. I'm going to play it for you, Renato, even though it's going to echo a lot of what Andy said, but it's important.
I feel that Sir Lewis Hamilton is probably going to call it quits come around Silverstone time. I mean, not that he's going to stop racing after Silverstone, but I feel that that's when he's going to make the announcement that at the end of this year, then he's going to hang up his helmet and ride off into the sunset with 7 championships of his back. It will be great to see him challenge for the title this year. I do hope that he gets that one more win that he needs to get to the 300 club, or I forgot what the record was. I mean, but it would be great to see him at least win a couple of races this year. But I still feel that he's probably going to be the end for him after 2023.
So then JP had 3 particular ones, and these are good. I like these.
Well, bold prediction. I expect at least 2 external combustion engines from Ferrari. I expect Sargent to be the new Latifi. And I expect Checo to leave Red Bull at the end of the season. Maybe even halfway the season.
So fascinating. Halfway into the season. The external combustion engine, by the way, is a big winner. JP, just so you know, we've shared that, I don't know if we were live or not, but with Nate Saunders, and he loved it, and we gave you credit. I can't remember if that was when we were playing. I had a couple here. I have a Valtteri podium, which we kind of talked about already. And so if that's not enough, I also think there's a chance for Fernando. I don't like the car as much. I like the driver, and so I have a Fernando podium. Let's see, there's a wet race somewhere, and he makes it happen. And if that's not enough, maybe this is aligned with Nimrod's thoughts a little. I have De Vries outpointing Yuki. I still have Yuki in the car at the end of the year, but I have De Vries outpointing him is my last one there.
And I'll round it off then with mine is one of the 3 rookies takes a win this year.
A win?
A win.
Not a podium.
Nope. Top step, baby. National anthem, champagne, the whole 9 yards. It'll be one of those crazy races that we talked about earlier where we get one of those really weird things where maybe, Valtteri does the bowling ball and takes out half the field, but a rookie win this year.
First of all, Valtteri did not do a bowling ball and take out half the field. You were getting it all wrong. He had a brake failure. It was not his fault. No one knows that.
I didn't apportion blame. I just said what happened.
As friend of the pod, we know he did nothing wrong. Andy, to you.
Do you two have the same dictionary definition of the word bold? Brian goes for a teammate is going to outscore his teammate. Bob goes for a rookie in one of the cars, a car that is not the top 3 that are going to win every race is going to win a race. It's like,
Brian likes to sit on the
choice.
fence. Yeah, he doesn't understand the word bold. It's.
I did the best I could. I thought it was fine.
Oh man, okay. Thank you, everybody. This has been absolutely great to get all you guys on and kind of chew the fat over the upcoming season. We do want to do this again at some point, so we're bored of the 4 faces that we have in front of us. So if anyone's listening wants to join and come on next time, then please sign up to the Discord. We're going to put a notice out there. If no one else volunteers, then we might have to ask these guys to come on again. But joking aside, thank you so much, guys, for taking time out of your day. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So
absolutely the best. Thank you all so much. Thanks not just for recording this with us, but for participating on the Discord with us, and to the voices that came on, and to everybody who couldn't make this on the Discord. Thanks. It's so much fun talking about the races on there with you all. So thanks for doing this, and I appreciate all of you joining today. Amazing. Love it. That was fantastic, and appreciate everyone who could join. There were a lot of conversations on the Discord. A lot of people couldn't make it and weren't able to participate, but for those 6 who did, thanks so much. That was amazing.
And one thing sorry, Brian, one thing you do have to explain, because we're going to have potentially, people that weren't around for when this came up, or maybe don't know the story, but Renato in one of his little things said he was looking forward to Baku. Wink, wink. So what's the wink, wink all about, Brian?
Yeah, okay. And so, those things where like you just envision the future and you have to speak it to make it happen. And when we were meeting with Renato and did the 100 seconds, Renato and we were talking about favorite races, and he mentioned how he likes Baku. And I'm like, I like Baku. And we're sitting there chatting. I don't think this was on the recording. I think this was when we were chatting afterwards. I said, hey, if the dirty side ever makes it big, one thing I'd love to do is get one of those like apartments that overlook the track, sort of in the town area, because they have little porches that hang off the back right over the track. And inevitably there's somebody sitting out there who's like, 85 years old and lives in this little apartment, and they got this great view of the race cars, but most of them are empty. Well, we'll rent one, is what I told Renato. The dirty side will rent one, and maybe there'll be an opportunity to. Anyway, I said, if we do, you're invited. He said, great. I go, now, Renato, the truth is, as we said, you have to get there yourself. But then, yes, you can sit in the place and watch with me and Rob. And anyone else who wants to fancy making it to Baku to watch one of these things. But it's got to be one of those apartments. I really badly want one of those places with the little balconies hanging off over the track.
I'm just trying to work out which is going to be the biggest obstacle to this. Renato needing to make his own way there.
Well, he knew that from the beginning.
No. I think he's got more chance of making his only way to Baku than we have of getting to the point where we can rent one of those from Dirty Side situation.
Never know. Never know. I'm speaking it into existence, right, Renato? It's going to happen, brother. Anyway, so everybody should know, please, if you're interested, join the Discord. The link will be on there now. We have a good mix of folks. Not everybody's 100 Seconds to DRS guest, and I'll get to that in a minute. Not everybody is, but people who enjoy coming on and hanging out and talking about the races. We have great conversations each week running up to the race and then kind of recapping there, and it's just fun to kind of have those conversations. So I love it, and I know Rob does as well. And Lee, again, shout out. Thanks for creating that. But I would suggest people join. It's, there's a variety of mix. You can participate as much or as little as you like, and it's a lot of fun. And the second thing I'd say is, if you'd like to be on the 100 Seconds of DRS with the likes of the people you just heard review and preview the season, I guess preview is the word I'm looking for, the season coming up, and in addition to that, Nate Saunders and Valtteri and Matt Didwin, Matt Bishop and Spanners and Antonia. If you'd like to be amongst that group, the people you just heard and those guests, well, why not sign up at F1 Dirty Side? Let us know. It's low key. We'll have a lot of fun, and maybe I'll even promise you a race at some point in the future.
Your list of people you owe races to is just going to carry on growing. But
it's only one. Let's keep it at that if we can.
Oh, man. Right. Okay. So that's puts a bow around this week. Next week, which is kind of two main things that come up next week, although I'm not sure we'll have time to do the first one. So the first one is Drive to Survive is going to drop, I think, on the 24th. Mm-hmm. Is that Friday?
It is.
It is. So if me and Brian have both managed to watch, say, the first episode, we might thread some...
First episode?
I know what you're like. You'll somehow manage to binge watch it in less time than the actual running of the whole show. Somehow you're able to condense time when you binge Drive to Survive. Like, literally, it'll drop, and about 3 hours later, you'll have said you've done the whole series. I'm like, how have you done that? Anyway, there will be some element of Drive to Survive in next week's show, but there's a little something that's kind of happening that might be bigger than Drive to Survive. We're going to see cars on track.
Testing. It's only testing, and it's 1 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Central Time, so it's not quite in the sweet spot for me here in the States and in Central Time America, Chicago. But I am so excited. And the cars going around track in Bahrain. Let's do it.
Yeah, and it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right?
Correct. Thursday, Friday.
So even if we haven't been able to, on the Thursday and the Friday ones, kind of engineer a way to watch that during our working day, by the time we get together on Sunday to record it, we should have been able to pick all the FlowViz out of the... I don't even know where I'm picking FlowViz out of now. I'm struggling with something, so I'm just gonna drop it at that point. But we'll have had time to digest what we saw in testing and give our thoughts, and may probably get wildly over optimistic about one car that was probably going way too fast while everyone else was sandbagging. But that's what we love testing for.
Wait, you know what else will happen next week? Hold on. You know what else is going to happen next week? Bahrain preview, because the week after that is the race.
Yes,
we're back. Baby.
Oh my gosh,
we didn't even realize that till now.
I forgot that we do this podcast to actually cover races. It's been so long, it feels like we had one.
I forgot to. I am so excited now.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, we'll be gearing up for a preview, and the week after that, we'll be actually back to race review territory. So, it's felt like the off-season had both lasted forever, but now also gone in the blink of an eye. And again, and I know I'm going to bore people with this, but I cannot believe what we filled the off-season with this time. You know, last year we made some goofy beginner's guides to F1, which was really more a way of me and Brian reminding ourselves on what all the rules were before we started talking about races. So we had like episodes on flags and tires and, you know, anything we could think of. We just tried to pad time until the season started, and it was difficult to pad time. And this time around, you just named most of them, Brian, but Valtteri, Matt Bishop, Spanners, Antonia, Nate again, and then the Dirty Siders, and it's just been insane.
Oh, Rob Reed.
Oh, of course, we had the end of season recap. Oh, yeah, right when we finished the thing. So it's been amazing, and I'm really looking forward to the upcoming season, and I think it really kicks into gear next week, really. Testing and beyond.
To testing and beyond. Let's leave it at that. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.